Hello, everyone. My name is Seb Valentin. I'm so blessed to have you here for another story based episode on my channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about a very important topic. And that topic, I think, is becoming more prevalent in today's society. I've been seeing it a lot more, and I even notice it in myself sometimes. And that is indecisiveness. Now, when we think of indecisiveness, I think a good example to start off the episode is, say you go on a date, or maybe you're out with some friends and no one can decide what to eat or where to go or what to do. And it's like this big mess where everyone's just asking each other these questions like, oh, what are we going to do? Where do we go? This, that, the other thing. And ultimately, nothing gets done until someone makes a decision about it. Sometimes no one makes a decision and nothing gets done. That's more rare in the date case because you have to go do something, right? But what's really important about this is the questions that develop with indecisiveness. They go deeper sometimes than where am I going to eat? Sometimes it's, am I going to fail? Or is it worth it to do this thing or not? Should I text this person or not? There's a whole range of much deeper questions that we ask ourselves when it comes to our own personal indecisiveness. And the reason that this happens is it's rooted in our fears. At the end of the day, that's where this lack of being able to make a decision comes from. It's rooted in our emotions and our fears. And our fears, they come from, life traumas and different experiences, different things that we've been through. That's where we develop them. And so the best way to overcome these fears is by rationally thinking about them, by analyzing them and rationally thinking about them. But how do we do that? How do we take that step to start rationally looking at things again? Because the thing that often happens is whenever we let a fear take over, anxiety, overthinking, like all that stuff will come with it. It's like a package deal. And you get to the point where you're almost like, there's so much negative things happening that you're like, I can't grasp for any light. There's no positive light in this, so I can't pull myself together. I can't, like the burden stacks up and you're just like, oh, what do I do now? And I think a really beautiful Bible verse, which is going to be the focal point behind today's conflict, is 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. And that reads, "For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline." There's a lot to break down here, but this verse is the key to helping us find the source of our fears and switching that highly volatile and emotional train of thinking into something more rational, something more based in reality. Because if you think about it, most of the time our fears are nothing but, they're fake. They don't really happen. Sometimes they do, but maybe not to the intensity that we expect them to happen. What we really need to realize here when we analyze this Bible verse and we talk about it is that God gave us the Holy Spirit. And it's through this that we're meant for something greater. Because we were created in His image, and because we have the Spirit, we're meant for something greater. We're not meant to live in our fears and to let our fears dictate our lives. Part of our calling as Christians is to be able to grow out of fears, and to be able to build up our confidence if it's something that we struggle with. We do this through like the verse says here, the power, love, and self-discipline that we gain from the Spirit. It should be a calling for all Christians that if you struggle with self-discipline, if you struggle with, well, not self-discipline, if you struggle with fears, if you struggle with confidence, is what I really meant to say, it's something that you should work on. It's something that you should try to find the solution to start aligning yourself with what God is calling you to do in life. And that's not to say you can't do it if you're, not as confident. It's more so you have the ability, you've been given the ability to realize that you're not as confident and that it's something that you could work on to maybe better carry out your vocation. So the point here is to realize the things that we need to work on ourselves and get down to the root of it and start working on it day by day, taking an action. And that's where it starts. That's the way you get rid of indecisiveness is through action. And it may be hard, when we're full of fear and we don't know, how can I make it? It's like I said earlier, we have this burden on us. And I think the most actionable thing that we can do is to start praying. The second you feel an overthinking thought or anxiety creeps in, you have about 1 second to just start praying. The second you call out to God and start praying, you do something pretty powerful here. And you may not realize it. And I'm not going to disclose it just yet, but as you start praying, you ask God for guidance and for help. You make that split second decision to start praying. You slowly notice that, you're not thinking as much about the problem or whatever's going on. And you're realizing, okay, now I'm having a conversation with God. That's what I'm currently focused on. And that's what it comes down to. You just went from either living in the past or living in the future to living in the present with God. And that is the greatest gift that we could ever receive, is to be present with God. This is the start of how we fix those fears. And we fix those past experiences in our lives that have broken us to the point of feeling like we can't make a decision or we can't think rationally. When we enter the present moment and we choose to talk about it and work through it with God, that's when we see results. Every single day. Because you're going to have thoughts every single day. Thoughts that are good, thoughts that are bad, whatever they may be, especially when they're bad. But don't forget to also pray when they're good. When we enter prayer, this is the start of it. This is the first habit that you want to cultivate. So then you can start letting go of those fears. It all starts with prayer. And now I want to share a personal story about a time where I was filled with fear, and prayer was very applicable and it helped me a lot. And it's again another college story. I have plenty of those because that's the most that's the most world experience I guess I could say I have at this point in my life. Obviously there's more, but it was deciding to join ROTC. Now, this wasn't just a simple process for me because I was at a completely different school at the time, technically. I was on a different campus, so I would have had to change over to the main campus, leave all the friends I made behind, go into a completely new environment. I'm even farther away from home. There was so many factors. And at this point in my life, I was not confident at all. I would say on a confidence scale, I was maybe at a 3. I feared so many things. I barely talked to people. The friends that I had now, I only had them because they talked to me. I was lost. I was scared. I wasn't sure if this was something, I was gonna basically risk it all, just jump in and see what happens. Maybe I didn't like it. I didn't really have a backup plan afterwards. And at first, you kind of get the adrenaline. I was like, yes, I'm going to do it because it's something I want, all that. And I remember going into my first class, an RTC class, and the professor picked on me, and I didn't know the answer to something. And I felt so like that's where all the anxiety creeped back in, all the fear and everything. And I was like, God, I don't know if I can do this. I was struggling. And honestly, I was about to quit. After that session, I was about to quit. I was about to say, nope, this isn't for me. I can do something else to build confidence or whatever. Because really, part of the reason why I joined is to do something that would push me past my comfort zone. I was already kind of in the mindset of I needed some change in my life because I wanted to do better. I wanted to improve upon these things. But that came through so much prayer, through so much asking of guidance. I remember my first year of college, I would be constantly praying, and I'd pray the rosary every night, and I'd pray every night before bed, asking God, I felt like He was calling me to do something more, because I felt like maybe what I was doing in the place that I was at wasn't enough. And when God sent me on the path to join ROTC, it was a scary one. I was full of fear, like I just described. All these things are they're scary for someone who was so timid growing up their entire lives. But when I came to think about it, that night after I was like, I'm done, I'm gonna quit, whatever, I went back home and I prayed about it. And I said, it was a bad day today. God, I'm not really sure what to do. I feel like quitting. I want to quit. Please guide me through this. I'm scared of what's to come next. Apparently we're going to have to, because we do briefings, so we have to do, it's basically like public speaking in front of your peers. And I'm here there's no way I can do that. I've never gotten up in front of people like that and just started talking. So I was there was so much fear, so much uncertainty. I was so indecisive about the whole thing. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But God calmed me down. God told me in His own way, this is for you. I want you to go through this. And although there might be a lot of suffering and there might be a lot of hard moments and everything, you're going to learn, you're going to grow, and you're going to become better because I have a plan for you. And once I felt this after hours and hours and hours of prayer, I knew it was right for me, and I knew I had to keep going. And I knew, in that moment, when I realized that God was trying to take me down this path, I made the decision. I was no longer indecisive. There was no longer a cloudy thought in my mind. I made the decision to stick to it and to stay with it. And now I'm happier than ever. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I met my greatest friends. I've networked, built so many connections. I have a job that I love and enjoy now. It's beautiful the way that God works. He works in mysteries. What you might think is your biggest fear and the thing that's I don't know if I can overcome this, and then He turns it into your greatest joy, the thing that you can talk about with people in your life that's changed you for the better. And that's going to do it for today's video, talking about indecisiveness. Thank you all so much for joining me on this journey. If you enjoy this content and want to hear more, I encourage you to subscribe and share with your friends and family. I'll be praying for all of you, and I hope you do the same for me. Have a great day.